unions have given so much money to so many politicians that they believe they can get Congress to pass something as un-American as the Employee Forced Choice Act.
The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the largest business lobby group in the United States, is pouring more than $35 million into Senate races in an effort to prevent a Democratic majority large enough to push through a union organization bill. The bill, the Employee Free Choice Act, was first introduced in Congress in 2007, where it won a majority in both the House and the Senate, but was thwarted by a Republican filibuster.
Republicans led by Mitch McConnell filibustered it, and we got a majority vote against the filibuster, but we didn't get the necessary 60 votes.
In a statement on the Chamber of Commerce website, they claimed that the Employee Free Choice Act would take away the right of workers to vote in a secret ballot. They state they want to take away workers' ability to choose whether to join a union through secret ballot elections, where workers decide confidentially and in private. Once the majority of workers at a facility have been persuaded to sign these cards, the union is certified.
The big labor unions are working overtime in Washington, lobbying for a dangerous new bill. They're plotting with members of Congress to strip workers of the fundamental protection of a private vote in union organizing elections.
Corporate America is throwing everything they can at this bill. They're spending $30 million this year. They'll spend $100 to $200 million next year. They're doing everything they can to stop it. They're trying to defeat the Democratic challengers in the Senate. They're throwing everything at them, the ones who have pledged to support the Employee Free Choice Act.
Al Franken backs a bill to take away your private vote in union elections. Ronnie Musgrove wants card check, taking away the private vote in union elections.
The Chamber also funds a group called the Coalition for a Democratic Workplace, which runs TV ads featuring mafia-type union bosses trying to intimidate workers.
How you doing?
Who are you?
What do you got there?
My secret ballot.
Oh, not anymore, it ain't.
Who are you?
Under a card check law, workers would just sign a card. And everybody would know how they voted.
The idea of that the Employee Free Choice Act would take away workers' right to a secret ballot is nonsense. The fact is the current system of workers organizing unions means that if a company doesn't want their workers to organize a union, under the current law, basically the workers can't have a union. The workers have to sign cards to ask for an election. Once they ask for an election, then the companies campaign, they fire people, they have the right to require workers to sit for hours in one-on-one or group meetings where they berate them and scare them. And then there's a vote conducted by the government at the workplace under the supervision of the company. And then once the votes are counted, the workers, even if the workers overcome all that I just described, they don't get a union. They get the right to sit down with the company. And if the company doesn't want to sign a contract, which in a majority of cases they don't want to, then there is no union at that workplace.
The Employee Free Choice Act says that workers will be able to decide how they indicate their support or non-support of the union. They can either go through an election, like is currently the case, or they can choose to indicate their support by simply signing a card or a petition. And if 50% plus one sign up, then the union will be recognized.
Most importantly, if no agreement is reached, then the union can go to a neutral, a judge, who hears both sides and imposes a contract. So it gives workers, for the first time in the history of America, the real right to a union. And by the way, this system that the Employee Free Choice Act contemplates, which is the signing of cards till there's a majority, is done all over the world.
When the Chamber of Commerce talks about the secret ballot, they're talking about an election system run by the National Labor Relations Board, which is rife. It's full of retaliation, intimidation, firings. 1 in 5 union activists in organizing campaigns will be fired. More than 20,000 a year are retaliated against for exercising supposedly legally protected union rights. The problem with the process is it's full of intimidation and retaliation. It bears no resemblance to our civil elections. That election takes place on the boss's property. It takes place on the boss's time, and it is overseen by corrupt union busters. That's now a $4 billion industry whose only job is to intimidate workers and keep them from supporting the union.
Because of the worker intimidation and the firing of organizers, since 1999, most unions in the United States have abandoned the National Labor Relations Board election process.
One of the last elections we ran in our union was at Goya Foods in 1999 in Miami. 2 facilities, 2 warehouses, truck drivers. Overwhelmingly, the workers wanted a union. 75% of them signed cards. They still didn't have a union. We petitioned the government for a vote. Goya delayed the vote, scared the workers, held meetings, threatened them, and fired 4 of the leaders. Still, the workers voted for the union. But winning the election still didn't mean they got a union. That was 1999. Since that time, which is now 2008, 9 years later, the workers have won every labor board decision, every appeal. The workers have been to court, several different federal courts, have won every single case, every single judge ruled in the workers' favor. 9 years later, the workers at Goya Foods still don't have a union. The fired workers are still fired, they're owed money by the company, and the workers don't have a union. The current process is a way for workers not to have a union. We want to restore workers' right to organize. That has got to be part of the economic recovery program for the middle class in America.
The problem with the economy right now, and all the economists agree on this, is there's not enough buying power in the economy to power the American economy. And the reason for that is 30 years of wage stagnation and decline, which has been caused by the abolition, the steady erosion of any effective right to organize, freedom to form unions and bargain collectively on the part of workers in America.
The jobs, such as manufacturing jobs that we identify as middle-class jobs, weren't invented as middle-class jobs. It was unions organizing those factories, the steel workers, the auto workers, the textile mills, the rubber plants, that converted those jobs from poor poverty-level wages to middle-class wages. So we need that same process of converting service sector jobs and low-wage jobs to middle-class jobs in America, and that process is allowing workers to have the right to organize again.
This is the sort of thing we can build right now without anyone else's permission from the government or from the business community. It's the power's in our hands.
If we're not going to sleepwalk into more wars and into environmental disaster, we think we need to start with a television news network that won't bow to pressure and has the courage to seek facts. And that means independent economics. And that's why we need you.
Real hope means facing a complex reality. Your tax-deductible donation makes it possible. Please contribute. Visit therealnews.com.